everyone, welcome to Itsy Bitsy's live read from Deliciously Sinful Liasons by L.M. Mountford. Chapter 1. From the book Broken, Chapter 1. Damn him. How could he be so good at this? Panting hot for lustful breath as her slender fingers buried themselves in the lush softness of his hair. Vicky tried to fight back her moans as her lover's tongue parted her folds. Swiveling deep, its silky smoothness teased her senses into delirium. Desperate for more, she opened her legs wider, surrendering herself and opening up to him in the most intimate of ways. Jake. Oh fuck, please. He always knew just where to touch, where to lick, to suck. She couldn't explain it. He just seemed to know how to get her hot, how to have her crying out as the fiery serpent spread through her villainous tongue to coil within her belly, heat seeping through her being in a flood of hot white pleasure. Oh, there, right there. It was an incredibly delicious. He might just drive her insane. That's it, love. Don't be shy. You love this, don't you? Me eating you, licking your clit, he whispered, his voice reverberating through her most sensitive spot, feeding her desire. Want some more? He blew across her clit as though to emphasize the question, and the feeling of his warm breath rushing over the pearl, seeming to brush over every nerve in her body, had her bucking and withering against him. Eyes squeezed shut against wave of delirious pleasure. Yes, yes. Don't stop. Don't stop. Don't. Oh my fucking God, I'm gonna come. She grasped, her voice trembling as he buried his head between her thighs, eating her with a starving hunger, tongue drinking in her flowing nectar before swirling around her clit. Then he was sucking, cheeks hollowing, drawing her little bud from the safety of its hood and into a sensory overload that had her head spinning. Open your eyes, Angel. Watch me eat your delicious cunt. His words were hot and dirty. She shook her head, the hot knot of tension spiking deliriously at his words and the feeling of his tongue fluttering over her center. It was too much. Any more and she would shatter. She couldn't take it. She couldn't. Open your eyes. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. The command in his tone and her body obeyed. His eyes gleamed up at her from between her thighs, his hot interrogatory gaze burning into hers as the merciless tongue slid over and under. It was so erotic, so... Vicky? Hello? You still with us over there? Vicky blinked through the haze to find Erica sitting across the table, waving a dainty but expertly manicured hand tipped with silver and white nails. Angela sat beside her, not saying anything, but that sly little grin pulling at the corner of the fiery Redhead's mouth spoke volumes. At the very least, it was enough to assure Vicky that her flatmate knew exactly what was going on. Heat blooming across her face, she dropped her gaze to the table, refusing to meet their eyes. Damn it, I did it again. What's wrong with me? Why can't I get him out of my head? Geez, Vi, you can make a cherry look pale, Erica observed, dropping her hand to take a long sip of her colorful cocktail, draining the glass. That's good. My usual now, Mike, she called to the burly lap behind the bar. Though not exactly their local, they were there just often enough to be called regulars and have a slate for their drinks. They paid off just enough that Mike, the publican, and his staff would let them slide when they wanted a drink but were having a bad week, or if they showed off a bit of thigh and asked nicely, "So who brought the blush to your cheeks?" Vicky stuttered and kept her eyes down, resisting the impulse to touch the heat still burning her skin. The crown was the quaint old-fashioned sort of establishment one would expect to find lost in the pages of an Agatha Christie or Jane Austen novel, with a piano in one corner, oak beams running across the ceiling, and a large oak bar framed by every sort of bottle and glass. It was a quiet pub where friends could meet and chat over work, but hardly a place to discuss the man haunting her dreams whenever she closed her eyes. "Oh, I know," Angela cut in. "It's him, right? The guy you were seeing." The small grin spread into a smile that was surely evil. "The one you've been pinning for." "Piss off," Vicky rounded, forcing a smile, but she was unable to resist rising to the bait. The redhead shot a sideways look at Erica and winked. "He's all she thinks about." "God damn it, Angie." The heat was practically radiating off her now. "I told you to stop eavesdropping on me when I go to bed." "I ain't been dropping no eaves, miss, honest." Angie grinned, like the cashmere cat. "Wish I could, Vic. But you're a screamer, and I live vicariously." The redhead laughed as her roommate flipped her the bird. "Isn't it bad enough you steal my clothes when I'm out? Don't think I don't recognize that top you're flaunting." Angela's smile dropped. "Ah, come on. You know this looks way cuter on me." "Is that your idea of an excuse?" "I know the only reason you want it is so you can show off your tits to every guy who walks by our booth." "Exactly." She gave an exaggerated wiggle that had her already emphasized breasts jiggling within the confines of the plunging halter that had rhinestones along the hem of the bust. "They get a show, and in return I get a free drink. Isn't that trade worth your sacrifice?" "No, I want my top back," Vicky countered dryly, refusing to back down. She needed to stay on the attack and keep the conversation moving. "What, you want me to strip off right here, in front of everyone?" She grinned and gestured over her shoulder to where a group of lads were clustered around a tall boy. "I know it's Christmas, Vic, but shouldn't I wait to let one of these lucky guys open his present?" "Don't act like you wouldn't," Vicky countered. "Anyway, I bet it's not something half the guys here haven't opened before." "You bitch," Angela laughed, only to be checked by the sudden appearance of a fresh spray of drinks. "Hey, girls," a waitress by the name of Autumn greeted. She was a natural head-turner with sun-kissed curls and rosy cheeks, and she was made all the more noticeable by the two-piece Santa uniform that showed off plenty of thigh and midriff. "These are from the guy over at table 13. She shuddered, though made sure to keep it nonchalant as possible so that only the three other women around the table would notice, before tilting her head. Vicky followed the movement. At first, it looked like she was indicating to the lads around the tall boy, but the black number 9 stamped to the edge of the brass plate suggested otherwise. So instead, she looked past the lads to the far end of the pub, where a 40-something guy with a greasy top knot was drooping in a chair. The table's brass plate was marked 13. Following Vicky's gaze, Angela visibly deflated, and it was all Erica could do not to bust into her hysterics. Seeming to sense he had an audience, the guy had turned towards them, smiled, and raised his half-a-legger. His broad smile made him look remarkable like Jabba the Hutt, and all three girls quickly looked away. "Thanks," Angela mumbled to Autumn's, retreating back, and they pushed the drink over to Vicky. "Okay, bad example, but I—" "Wait a minute." Erica's eyes were suddenly bright. "You mean that guy, right? The one you said was a marathon man. Looks kind of like a youngish Sean Bean, only with a goatee." "Oh, he was hot, but—" She looked from Angela to Vicky. "Didn't you give him the elbow last month?" "Geez, thanks, Erica." Immediately aware of both sets of eyes fixing on her, Vicky dropped her gaze down to the drink Angela had passed her. Eyes prickling with tears, she refused to let either woman see her cry and instead focused on the bubbles rising up to the top, to pop on the murky top of the rum and coke. Had it only been a month? And to think they had been so happy. She had been so happy. It was such a strange idea, her, happy. But she had been at a time. That's how it had been with the others. A few dates, that was all. Then she'd end things. No attachments, No teary farewells or goodbyes. No commitment. No emotion. It was the best way. Best for her, and most certainly best for them. And she's certainly been fine with it every time. They were just men, after all. If necessary, the best parts of them could be replaced by a pair of triple A's and a trip to the toy aisle in Ann Summers. But with Jake, it was madness, pure madness. But in the space of a few weeks, he had completely consumed her in a way no other man had, made her feel complete, safe, happy. Now he's gone, and it was her fault. Sipping the rum, she wiped away the tear burning her cheek with the side of her hand. Angela didn't buy the act for a second. God, what's with you? What? Vicky asked, avoiding the redhead's scrutinizing stare. What? She parroted, then arched a long, elegant brow. Come off it, Vic. Don't give us that load of old pony. You never go out with a guy for more than a handful of dates before cutting him out of your life. Then this guy comes along, and you're suddenly attached to him at the hip. You sicken us with a routine that would make Shakespeare Tom and Dick. Then you break up with him out of the blue. Now I have to drag you out by your hair just to get you to come out for a drink on Christmas Eve. Her smirk dropped. Seriously, what is it about this guy? It's nothing. Angela rolled her eyes. Really? Because I could have sworn that the only way is excess you were watching when I came home. You can't stand soaps, Erica countered, cutting her off before she could even finish the lie. It's entertaining. It's shit. Vicky shot her another glare but made no effort to defend the program further. A veteran of all things soap, reality, and celebrity TV, if Erica said it was crap, there was no argument. She sighed and put her glass down, defeated. It's nothing. He's different. Different? Angela asked. Different how? Vicky shrugged. She couldn't explain it. Jake wasn't like other men. Not the kind her friends understood. He was dark and dangerous, full of that confidence which bordered on arrogance, but with that sexy, irresistible bite. Dominating but not overbearing. Scaring without terror. He was a complete enigma, even to her. Just different. Erica and Angela shared a look that made Vicky's belly somersault. She knew that look. So what does he do? Erica finally asked, taking a long draw on her cider, watching her across the table. Vicky blinked. I don't know. He didn't tell you? Angela leant forward, scrutinizing. I never asked. But how come? And there it was, the question that she dreaded. How could she tell them she was afraid to ask, afraid of what his answer might be? Vicky wasn't a liar. She'd grown up with liars. She learned to lie before she could walk. She was possibly one of the greatest liars who ever lived. She'd seen the hurt they caused. She hated lying. She certainly didn't want to lie to two of the only true friends she had ever had. But she'd seen the truth. Jake never made a big deal about her finding it that time, but it was there, stashed away in his drawer, between a packet of paracetamol and a box of condoms. A SIG saucer P226. Only certain men carried those, and none of them worked jobs that made good gossip. Good, healthy gossip, anyway. It just never came up, Vicky shrugged, trying to appear nonchalant. But he works a lot of strange hours and keeps himself in shape. Not very toned, but healthy, like he does a lot of running. And his stamina is amazing. So maybe it's a personal trainer. Thank you for listening to this portion.